Hi friend, it's me again. So, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Peter Pan. I wasn't exactly that deep though. I just wanted to be Peter Pan because he could fly and he hung around with magical fairies. That was the extent of it. But, you know, if you look at my life right now, I work on kids' cartoons, and I pretend like I have no responsibilities, and I also hang around with a bunch of fairies. So, in a way, I am kind of like Peter Pan. When we were younger, things were so much simpler. Like, really, think about it. You didn't have to think about what you wanted to eat. You didn't have to think about what you wanted to dress. You were told when to do actually everything. So then, as adulthood starts to seep in, that's when we kind of start taking care of ourselves. We start figuring out what we like, what we don't like, start to kind of figure out who we are and who we want to be. But then, that's when the trick of life comes along and it whacks you in the face with something that makes you question it all. Everything you've worked for over how many years you have started to think you were a young adult or adult, like trying to figure out what you liked, what you didn't like, it can all come crashing down when something like a stupid, dumb bully comes along and points out a flaw that you didn't even think you had to begin with. Or you're at work and someone gives you some polite, constructive criticism that you haven't really figured out how to deal with yet. It makes you implode in on yourself, and you start to question everything. So it's in these moments that we start to do something that is completely self-destructive. It is when we start to hate ourselves, and that is what this video is about. Why do we hate ourselves? But why? Why do we hate ourselves in these instances? Why is it when something like this happens, our brain goes from 0 to 100 and all we want to do is revert back to infancy and just run and cry for our parents? You start to feel weak, and you hate that someone else in this world could make you feel that way. So that's when you blame them, the person who made you feel like that. Or you blame an inanimate object, a tool that had something to do with this situation. It couldn't have been you, it was something else. But these feelings, they don't go away, and neither do moments like this. They just keep happening over and over again. A new bully will come along, and you will say something so incredibly stupid that it will keep you awake at night, late into your 20s when the situation happened when you were 7. Like, this is the kind of thing we're dealing with, but we don't know how to process these problems. And not many of us ever learn how to deal with these thoughts and emotions. And eventually, we're gonna run out of things to blame. It can't be someone else's fault forever, and it can't be a tool's fault forever either. And that's when you turn on yourself. He broke up with me because I was too fat. I didn't get that job because I wasn't smarter than the other person. No one wants to be my friend because I'm not funny enough. It's around about this time that all the dreams and hopes and aspirations that you had for yourself have all come into question. And that's when Neverland is not only a fairy tale, but it's a scientific impossibility. And you are stuck here on Earth with your feet firmly placed at a school or job or home where you don't want to be. So let's, for a moment, stop looking up at the sky waiting for a giant floating ship to come down and crush all of our problems, and instead look down at ourselves. Every negative thought you've ever had follows a trend. It's like you've made a shopping list of all the things that you hate to do. You list all the things that annoy you, doing your laundry, your taxes, washing the car, cleaning the floor, and then you know what you do? You put that list on loop, and that loop record player thingamabob, it has no off switch. Kind of like me. These conversations that we have with ourselves, they never really stop. They're endless and they're ruthless. You know, if you were to put your thoughts and you in a relationship, it would be classified as abusive. Eventually, you know what ends up happening? We get stuck in a Stockholm Syndrome-like event. We believe that we deserve to feel like this, that we deserve to hear these negative thoughts. That, my friend, is when we fall into what's known as depression, if you're not already there. So, what do we do about it? Well, this is actually something that I've struggled with a lot, but I have some answers. So, I know what I have to do to fix this problem, or at least make it a little bit better, but it's very hard, and it's really hard to figure out. After I've described this to you, can you please leave a comment in the comment section letting me know if you've figured it out and what your answers are, because I could really use a hand. So you have to start a new list. It's a new positive list, but it's not things like, I'm like super funny and I'm clever and people really like being around me because I'm really good at movies. No. It's nothing like that at all. It has to be something that comes from a really pure place. So what are your strongest traits? Are you an amazing friend? If there was someone who really needed your help, would you be there for them? If you saw an injured animal on the side of the road, would you stop to help? If you were someone else, anyone else, a really good friend of yours or a family member, what would they say about you that makes you important? Are they someone who's extremely intelligent and uses that intelligence for good? What are some things that you can think of that what you've done as a person has severely impacted someone's life? These are the things that you have to remind yourself of to make you value yourself. Now, the reason why this is so hard for me, and probably for you as well, is because I have spent so long listening to that list of things that is telling me I'm a terrible person that I honestly couldn't tell you what makes me a good person. This is why this technique for me is not really working, because if I think of something, anything that I would think that someone else thinks about me in a positive light, it's shallow, it's empty, it's hollow, because I don't believe it. This is why I'm still trying to make this technique work, but if you can do it and keep reciting to yourself that list, then maybe, just maybe, it's going to help. But really, that's not very helpful advice. I do have a technique that has helped me a lot over the last couple years, and you've heard it a lot. You've heard it a lot, trust me. It's the act of meditation.
Here comes a thought that might alarm you. What someone said and how it harmed you. Something you did that felt to be charming. Things that you say are suddenly swarming.
It's the act of quieting my brain. It's the process of figuring out what the real issue is and why I'm feeling that way, instead of shifting the blame to someone else, something else, or ultimately myself. So how I meditate is quite simple, really. And yes, I do sit on a surface with my legs crossed. So I imagine my brain like this big empty dome, and it's full of smoke. And I imagine Aang from the Airbender does some kind of wispy airbendery move, and it just blows all the smoke out until I've just got this big empty dome. And to me, what that signifies is that I have an empty, clean slate ready for new thoughts. And at this point is when I focus on my toes. Yeah, my toes. So I study them with my brain. Like, what do they feel like? Oh, what sensations are on my toes right now? Can I feel the cloth up against the toe? Is there some cuts? Is it itchy? Like, what am I feeling on my toes right now? How often do you ask yourself that question? So I keep doing this. I go up around my ankles and I ask the same questions. I go up my legs and I ask the same questions. My hips, I ask the same questions. Shoulders, neck, head, ears, everything. I ask the same questions. And when that's done, that is what I like to imagine is what people talk about when they say you need to center yourself. That's how I feel when I've finished going over my entire body, because I've forgotten everything I was really worried about because I've been focusing so heavily on my feelings. Like my feelings. So when it stops, I can ask myself the big questions. So why did this happen? What made this event happen? What other variables could be in this situation? Was it me? Was it just me? Let's take me out of the equation. Let's look at everything else. What could have I done to avoid this situation in the future? Everything you do, you learn from. Whether it's a harsh lesson or if it's a really, really easy one, whatever it is, you learned something from it. So no matter how bad this was, what did you learn? So when this is all finished, I have some clarity and I have maybe a couple answers, but you know what? I still hate myself. I still hate myself, but it's a little less. And the reason why it's less is because I've taken charge of my own feelings. And not only that, I've identified what they are. So when all of this is over and done with, and I've like to think that when I'm older, I'll feel like I've figured it all out, I can look back on these times and remember the meditation, the medication, the therapy, all of it, and be really proud of myself for trying to figure out what my emotions were and why I was feeling them. And maybe that is my Neverland. That was so fucking cheesy. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, please make sure to do none of those things. And guys, I will see you in a couple days. Oh my god, that was so cheesy, but so true.